Welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I'm your host, Matt Clark, and I'm here with...
Christy Santiago. That's my name.
That's
Hi,
her.
everybody. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday, everyone. It's the 20th of December, if you don't already know. So we are 5 days away from Christmas. So we're going to be going over the happiest of things, like the Democratic debates and the Afghanistan papers, as I'm calling them right now. So, and then we'll also look at the poll that I put out last week and see what everyone's thinking for our last show of the year. So we'll probably announce that towards the end of the show, though. And yeah, so let's move right into it. So I missed the Democratic debates last night because I went to go see Star Wars, which was awesome, and I will not be giving any spoilers out. But for anyone who cares, which should be everyone, the movie was pretty awesome.
In a real democracy, people would care about this.
Yes. You know what? Actually, I was going to mention that because where was it here? If I go back to what I was looking at. On Twitter, there's a few things trending right now. And one is Christians against Trump. Because
Billy Graham founded this particular foundation.
Oh, really?
Billy motherfucking Graham, which is funny because he was crazy. I mean, he was a nut for Jesus. Everyone knows that, and a fraud and a scoundrel. And so it all makes me laugh. But it is nice to see finally something.
It is. And but yeah, it's that has like 51.6 thousand tweets going on right now.
Yeah, I read it. I read the whole thing tonight, and it's crazy that it was Billy Graham's. Now he has nothing. I mean, he's gone. So, yeah. But I guess this particular group of fundamentalist evangelicals decided that they really don't like someone who has 3 ex-wives and sleeps with people and then pays them off and then lies. And I guess they're like, that's kind of really not like Jesus.
Yeah, it's really not.
No.
There were quite a few like funny pictures and memes that I found over there, though. And like it's trending right now because he went against like the Christian. It wasn't Christian Magazine. It was like.
I think it is Christian Magazine.
It was? All right. See, it wasn't. Yes, it was. It was that. Yeah, and he just like shot back at him for some reason or another. I didn't really dive into it.
Yeah, and you Google Billy Graham's magazine, and it'll be the top thing that pops. That's what I did.
Cool. Well, there you go. And part of the reason I brought that up is because this is almost a real democracy, because at least in the Twitterverse, we have that going on, and the other.
I think it should be talked about.
Yeah, it should be. The other 2 or 3 top trending things is there's a clear transition. There's Christians against Trump, then Space Force, then Baby Yoda's first words, and hashtag the rise of Skywalker.
Oh, wow.
So we
only in America.
Only in America. Yeah. So we almost have our priorities in line. If we just had the rise of Skywalker,
Baby Yoda,
Baby Yoda should probably be first. Yeah. Then maybe we could have a little more hope for this country. But instead, we got Christians against Trump, which is good. It's just not as good as Baby Yoda. All right. That said, I didn't get to listen to the Democratic debates last night because I went to go see Star Wars. But I did get to listen to them today, which if you've caught the last few Democratic debate reviews on the show, you would know that I am pretty happy about. I'm more or less ecstatic that I got to listen to the whole thing.
Good for you.
Yeah, because PBS didn't go, fuck you guys, you got to pay for this channel.
Public broadcasting system, as all democratic debates should be. I think that's a great move. Yeah. I watched the whole thing as well, and it was easy to find. No paywalls. It was wonderful.
Yeah, no paywall. That really was wonderful. I appreciated that a lot. So I listened to the whole thing. That was about the only time I had only thing that I had time to listen to today, though. So let's get to it real quick. I was trying to take notes, but I didn't finish them. We had Amy Klobuchar. Hold on, I want to say it in the more or less the right order. We had Joe Biden, because he's more or less in first in national polls, whether or not that matters. And then Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. Mm-hmm. Then I don't remember a good order after that. I guess Amy Klobuchar, we have Andrew Yang.
Buttigieg.
Steyer, and Buttigieg. Mayor Pete.
And Wine Caveman.
He is Wine Caveman.
Oh, and Yang. Don't forget Yang.
I didn't forget Yang. I said Yang.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So,
story over
let's do this. Let's do this real quick. Give me, Christy, your top and bottom. Who did best? Who did worst? Before
Biden did worse. Biden did
worse.
Yes. It's just. It's so cringy. It's so bad. It's so bad. And Bernie, I was impressed. I think everybody, even Steyer said things where I was like, right on, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody, I would rather have any of them over what we have right now, except for Biden. Biden is business as usual. And so is probably Klobuchar and Buttigieg. I mean, come on, let's be real. There was a lot of cringe, but Bernie, I love that he just called people out. I love that he had numbers. He said, you have 44 billionaires and you have 39. You guys argue with each other.
Yeah. That was really funny. He just jumped in there and just like...
Yes, it was on, and I had walked Bean last night, and when I came back and he's like, I have to rewind it. You have to see this. And it was that part. Yeah.
That was definitely a highlight. Yeah. That was one of the best moments of the whole night, was when he called them both out, because they were all arguing with each other about campaign finance, and he was like, hey, you two, maybe you'd like to do that with each other. Or why does he have 44 and you only have 39?
Yeah, you guys argue about that yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I
have 0, by the way. Not bragging.
Right now, no, he doesn't, and that's the point. And I do have to say, money in politics was brought up not just once or twice, but a couple times. Yes, I was so impressed by that. Yeah, because I think that's the biggest issue in our time, is how just corrupt and legally corrupt our political system is, and it's going to take a lot of work, and talking about it is like step one. That means we're on step one as far as mainstream politics go, and that's frustrating. But step one is better than nobody's even talking about it. I did think one part was funny, followed by cringe. When Bernie was, going like this, and Biden said, "Oh, wait your turn," or whatever he said. That was really cringy. And then when he's like, "I'm just waving."
I'm just waving at you, Tom.
I'm just waving. And then the look of Biden's face, because they show it.
Yeah.
He's so pissed off and butthurt that people thought Bernie was funny in the moment. Just steam coming out of his ears.
It was a rough crowd, for Bernie half the night, though.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's like when they tried to phrase the question in such a way Barack Obama said that there's always old white dudes in the way of politics, and that's one of the biggest issues. It's old white dudes, and like, well, you are the oldest, and he's like, and I'm white. Crickets. Oh, come on, that was funny, guys.
It just goes to show the ignorance of that whole topic. There, just recently this week, Mike, a big black Bernie supporter. He's been a Bernie supporter. He's been on Real Time. He's
Killer Mike?
Yes. I just call him Mike. He was asked, and it was on CNN on a panel, what do you say about there not being the two men of color, she's saying, didn't get invited to it, which, is Corey and what's his name? I can't think of his name. Spanish guy.
Julian Castro?
Yes, his brother's in there too, Castro. Well, she's saying the two men of color, not men. Yang's right. Hello. Like they don't even, and
acknowledge it.
Mike's response to that was wonderful. He nailed this interview. He said, right, I don't care. It's the policies. You're trying to take it to something that it's not. I care about the person who has a history that shows their worth ethic. They have years and years of doing the right thing, and then their policies back them up. That's what I care about. And she was blown away by this news person was just blown away that she said, well, I just, being a man of color yourself or something along those lines, like, is this normal? I guess it goes out the window to say that, a man of color would necessarily vote for someone of color and Mike's just like, oh my God, we're never going to get ahead with people. These questions don't matter. They really don't. Tell me what the person stands for. And then the fact that they're a black, strong woman is awesome on top of it. But let's talk about what they stand for and their policies first. And it's really hard for them to get past it. Now, let anyone on the left say, the first trans woman elected for blah, they're playing identity politics. So I love that Mike did that because he almost just threw it all back in her face. Look up his latest interview, and I was clapping out loud. I was so proud of him.
Yeah, Killer Mike's really awesome. I like all of the interviews that I hear with him. Like,
yes,
just all of them. They're all good.
Smart guy.
So you said Biden did the worst for sure. Would you say Bernie Sanders did the best?
Yes.
All right. I have not looked at really any reviews. Again, I didn't have time to. But I did really try to pay attention when I was listening because I was multitasking and I'm not good at that. But I actually have a different opinion because we usually have the same opinion here, where Biden did the worst and Bernie did the best. But actually, I think Yang did the best this time. I think he made at least 3 solid points that I wish Bernie had. And since he made those arguments and had so many good, off the cuff and just knowing the shit answers, I feel like he stole the night. I feel like being fair, he did the best, at least for me. And Biden, I feel like he did better than other debates. I feel like his response regarding Israel-Palestine was actually half decent. He said that.
But I know his voting record. I don't fucking believe it.
Right? No, I don't believe it either. I don't think he would actually make anything better. It's lip service, but not just comparing his record, but seeing how he did on stage. Yeah. I feel like he didn't do the worst. He definitely performed better. He had a few decent answers. I still wouldn't vote for him, but I think on stage last night he didn't do the worst. I think Amy Klobuchar really stole the night and doing it worst.
Yeah, there were a few times where I was like, oh, okay. All right, you go, girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she sounded really rehearsed to me.
Yeah.
And
she even looked amazing. Like she had a whole makeover.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the first thing that we had talked about. Like, oh, she looks amazing tonight. Like someone took her aside and said, we're doing all this different.
Yes. Yeah. But I still think she didn't do very good at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she did. I think she did the worst.
Isn't she pulling? She's up pulling at like 3.5%.
I don't know. We could find out.
I know it was 2, and then she went up a little bit.
No.
What am I throwing on the ground?
Go to polls. Let's see. All right, real quick. We'll tell you what's what. 535 or 538. Sorry, poll. The December Democratic debate and 6 charts. Look at that one. That was 6 hours ago. And here we go. Looks like, oh, that's just favorability. It doesn't give me any numbers. All right, I'm still not finding good numbers, but I am finding like the favorability and just like who held the floor, number of words Candace spoke in the 6th Democratic debate. Klobuchar, she spoke the most by 30 words over Pete Buttigieg.
I believe that. She was on fire.
Yeah, it was 3,557. Pete Buttigieg was 3,327. So it was 230 more words. And Andrew Yang, again, the least amount. Biden and Sanders were in the middle with 2,800 each, more or less. Tom Steyer was the second least, and Elizabeth Warren was right under Pete Buttigieg by almost 300 words. But I didn't look up the right polls, but all of these are really interesting.
I like
them. Amy Klobuchar brought up Trump 11 times. Bernie Sanders brought up Trump 8 times. Biden brought up Trump 6 times. Buttigieg was 6 times. Steyer and Yang was 4 times. And Elizabeth Warren only brought him up one time. So, okay. So again, real quick, let me go over how I think everyone did. Because I do want to get to the next topic soon. So if I can spit out my words, then we can discuss them a little bit if you want, then we can move on. So Biden, I think he did better than usual. I think his answer on Israel was decent. That doesn't mean his pastor's record is decent on it. He did a weird thing, as he always does. Not mocking, but doing like a stutter on stage.
Yeah.
That was strange, but I did understand what he was getting at, and I feel like he meant it in a heartfelt way.
Of course.
Yeah. And it was much less insulting than the other gaffes he's done.
Yeah.
Then
it still wasn't appropriate.
Yeah.
Especially on a debate stage where you're trying to be the leader of the free world.
Yeah.
It was cringy. He's so cringy to me.
He is really cringy. He is really cringy.
Mean, you saw just a week and a half ago, when he tells a Biden support, someone who's there to listen to what he has to say, who's willing to vote for him. Biden. You know, the man is there to be convinced to vote for Biden, and Biden tells him, you know, we'll go vote for Trump because he doesn't like the criticisms and the question that a voter is asking him. And I just thought, you have thin skin just like Trump, and we don't want it. You know, You get a hard question and you say, just leave. It's like, well, you know, if they want to keep playing with your toy and you're little and you're done with it, you're not friends with them anymore.
Right. That's pretty much how Biden is.
Yes.
Then he had an answer about the economy, which was the second topic that they had. and I don't remember what it was, but I remember that I was unimpressed because they were talking about the unemployment rate, and he just didn't answer it very well. He didn't really seem like he knew what he was talking about, and he also just kind of ignored the premise. Sanders, he did great. He did fine. I don't know if it was his best night, but I know it was a good night for him.
Yeah.
And what he did pull off some good numbers. He did pull out that little showstopper between Biden and Mayor Pete. That was pretty funny. And
watching Pete's face when other people are saying anything about him. I mean, he looks like he's going to blow his top.
It does. It really does. Are they talking about me? I want to talk about me. I want to do it.
Said all
politicians. I want to do that.
Yes. I think in order to be a politician, maybe not in order, but at least 70% of Congress right now are people that have at least a healthy dose of narcissism.
Yeah, no kidding.
Or unhealthy.
He fits perfect there. Now, what was the other thing? Oh, his answer on Israel. Not that I can quote it, but it was good. Just the fact that they were talking about Israel and Palestine at all, that was him. He had that question posed to him because he brought it up last time, and that gives him points like right off the bat. That's a good thing he did, and people were able to give decent answers, whether they were bullshit or not. He's the reason that they asked the question, and that and I don't think they would have really asked it if it wasn't on PBS. I'm not sure, but like PBS did a decent job, like in general.
Politico and PBS together.
PBS and Politico. So, yeah, you're right. Yeah, and they did a good job. It looks like they took questions from people through a poll. That's what they said at the beginning of the debate. So I appreciated that too. Elizabeth Warren, she only brought up Donald Trump once. That was nice. And one thing that threw me off for her right off the bat, because they started the talk or the debate with talks of impeachment. And she was asked, all right, so many people don't agree with the way we're going about impeachment. Only 45% of the nation just don't agree with it. And why do you think that is? And then she completely ignored the question. Yeah. And she went on a rant about why Donald Trump is bad and why she supports
a lot of that happened.
A lot
of that just happened. Not answering the question at all. Even the last one, would you choose to ask for forgiveness, or what kind of gift would you give? They're just like, la la la, this is what I want to talk about.
Steyer answered it though. Steyer answered it. He had the longest, and he answered it the best. I don't hold it against Yang too much because it was a weird fucking question, and he was the first one to get it.
Right.
So, but everyone who had more time than Yang.
Yes. His thing is math, not nuance.
Yeah. He just stood there for like a good 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Laughing like, what the fuck?
I felt awkward for him. Yeah.
I
was like, oh man.
Yeah. But other than that, he did really good. Like when he was asked a question, he had really good answers. And I won't go over Yang stuff again, but I don't remember anything that Yang said that I disliked.
No, he had a wonderful night. He was my number 2, and it's because I felt like he finally got to talk, and there were substantive questions. There were questions that I wanted to hear the answers to, not dumbass political questions that, gotchas and ways to get sound. I hated the CNN debate. I just loathed it. And then the other one, I don't even remember who it was. That one was awful too. Just awful.
Yeah.
It was there were still lots of questions where I was like, I mean, I want to hear their answer, but there's so many more pressing things.
Yeah.
But it was better. So So there's that.
And like, I don't want to focus on Andrew Yang too much because I already like gave him my gold medal for the night. But I do want to say, even though he had the least amount of words this time, like he has every time, you could tell right off the bat he was ready to like fight his way in there because he was the first one to interrupt and he did it like very loud. Hey, can I like speak? Like he just.
Mm-hmm.
It was very like distracting at one point, and it was fine. It's just like, oh hey, he's there and he's really trying to fight his way in this time. So that made me happy, and also I felt like he talked more. I felt like he talked more because I think he did more often, but he still had so few words, but he made concise points. And I wish, to be honest, that Bernie did that just a little more because he had his stuff, but like he repeated a lot of the same things he has before. And if he can just make it a little bit shorter and get straight to the point, kind of like Yang did, that would make me really happy because I listened to a lot of Kyle Kulinski.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle he is really good at making quick and concise arguments that the Bernie campaign should really try to try to use his arguments.
That's a criticism I have of Bernie as well. Is I understand his policies, I understand his argument, but I'm also in it. I'm also, in those conversations and talking to people and have been for a couple of years or more. And when you're coming out as a candidate with these, you need to think of it as you're not around the people that know you. You're talking to someone who doesn't know any of this and start from there. And I think a lot of the time he assumes that everybody's on his level and people aren't, even though I get it. And I'm sure a lot of us do. There are people that it just goes right above their head and they just hear socialism bad.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. So the reason like people like Christy and I and a lot of our audience likes Bernie Sanders is because the dude knows his stuff and he knows how to communicate it. When you're on a debate stage, like if you're in a room full of people, it's really easy for his arguments to go right over someone's head because they're so policy heavy and people aren't used to that. And he doesn't know.
You, hope and change.
Hope and change.
This is what we need to do, and this is what I need you to do to help me. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, whoa, you need me to do stuff? No.
I don't want to do stuff. I want you to do it.
Vote.
Yeah. But he just doesn't know. It's like he knows what to say. He just doesn't know how to say it multiple ways. I think is what it is. What the man knows and what he brings to the table is glorious, and that's why so many of us have the views that we do. Is because of the way he communicates. If you pay attention, it makes a lot of sense. But for some people, you just need to say it a different way, and I think he's. I don't want to say he's incapable of doing that, but right now it doesn't look like he's very capable of communicating
soundbite
his usual message, even with updates to it, in a different biteable way.
Right.
So that's my criticism, and I think it's fair, but also just like I think we need to throw a little more Bernie criticism in there every now and then, anyways. So next, I'll just scratch on Amy Klobuchar again just a little bit. She definitely did better than last time. I'd say it was definitely with a question mark through the whole time because she did look very nice. She sounded better. She sounded less shaky, except for one specific time I was listening. Like I could just hear her being shaky. It was like towards the end of the debate. But to me, even when she sounds like she knows what she's talking about, she's talking in circles. She's talking in circles. She's blaming everything on Trump, which is
she's trying to be really loud and take over the room.
Yeah, and hit like girl power talking points. But it sounds so cliche. It just sounds so cliche the whole time. And it just bugs the shit out of me because I'm just like, look, you're going to end up riding the Ivy Pole train all the way to losing is what you're going to do. And again, she just blames everything on Trump. Unlike Bernie and Yang made a great point. He's like, hey, we really need to get off blaming this train of blaming everything on Trump because he's just a symptom. We need to look at why Hillary Clinton lost. It's not just because of Trump. It's because of how we practice politics. Then everyone else, except Bernie Sanders, is like, so about Trump being the main problem and the source of all evil.
Right.
No, you missed it. He just said. Sorry, go on.
Wait, no, that's it. That's nobody wants to hear. They want easy. They want their problems to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are our problems, and these are the easy solutions. And then you can move on with your day and never have to think about it. But that's how we got here.
Yeah.
That's how the baby boomer generation got here. They propaganda in this country is everywhere, and it. You at first you weren't supposed to talk about religion and politics, so therefore those things don't get discussed. And what happens? Things grow in the darkness. They grow in ways that are hard to keep up with because nobody was talking about them. Well, now we're here. We have Citizens United as a law, or as an amendment, a law essentially, and when you think of 26% of this country's total population voted for Trump. That's it. Think about that.
Yeah.
This is broken. That's broken. When the numbers don't match, it's broken. And 26% of the nation did vote for Trump. That's a problem by itself because you're not and I don't blame a big majority of them. I really don't. I blame our system. I blame the education system that we have or the lack thereof. I blame so much of. We can do so much better. We can care about everyone. Trump supporters, Bernie supporters, Jill Stein's Americans, all the Americans. We can care about them and we can nurture a society of educated people. And I don't think that you need a Harvard education to be educated, to be informed.
No, I don't think so.
I think trade is so important. Carpentry is so, you can build stuff with your hands. It's fucking awesome. I love that stuff. I mean, I do hair. That's a trade. People will always get their hair cut and colored. It will just always happen. So these things are important. But we can have, a culture of education, a culture that not just benefits. Obviously, we benefit from education, but it's our passion. Think about Finland. That's their passion, is to have the best education ever known to human existence. And I think that's a good goal. As society goals, we need to start having them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, and I agree with that. It's we need to have good goals like that.
Yeah.
So, two more people here, real quick. Tom Steyer. He definitely didn't do awful, I think. He definitely stood out this time, unlike any other. He mentioned how he's spent like the last 10 years fighting other companies with multiple things, like mostly like I guess corruption or whatnot. I didn't really look into any of his claims, but taking that and how climate change is his first priority, taking any of it on face value. He said decent things. For a lot of it, I would say anything he is fighting for, to Bernie, he is a Johnny-come-lately. That's all he is. And I'm glad that he's trying to do the right things. I'm glad he's, I would be glad if everything he's saying is true and he's really trying to fight the good fight. I would really appreciate that. I'm not saying that he's not, because I really haven't looked into him much because he hasn't seemed that relevant.
He is, and he's fighting to get money out of politics too. I mean, he really is doing those things.
Yeah, so that's wonderful, and I like that. I would put him up maybe in the top 5 of these 7. So definitely not the bottom. Definitely not the bottom 2. He's in the top 3 or 4 actually of like who did best. I think he did better than Elizabeth Warren, honestly.
I would have to agree.
Yeah, and that surprised me. Not because we.
She's just moved so far away from her, where she came out as.
Yeah.
And I cannot abide.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's just it was strange to see him do so well because I just expected to kind of hate him the whole night, but he did fine. It's just he's closer to a Johnny come lately, and I don't really want him to be president. And
no, I want to use his millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to keep doing good and to show other sickeningly wealthy people that they can too and still stay wealthy because you have an unfathomable amount of money.
Yes, because that's good. The other way that I look at it is the aesthetics. Let's say him and Bernie have the same platform, more or less. Let's say that, and Sire wins. Well, then I feel like everything he does, if he's still using his billions to push things through, it feels like it's closer to oligarchy. To whereas if Bernie Sanders does it with a movement of people, not just me as us, that's more democracy. Right. That's more grassroots movement.
Yes.
Because Steyer doesn't have that support, and even though he's doing the right thing, and it's a better way to view oligarchy, because oligarchy isn't just bad, but it is bad for democracy, right? Rich people can make good decisions.
A democratic process.
Yes.
He represents, that fire that people feel and are compelled to be a part of it because they say, wow, all my neighbors and everybody, we hear this message. And not only are you coming to our neighborhood to talk to us, but you're saying here, volunteer and meet all the people in your area that are also wanting these same things. And then it just spreads. That's democracy. That's so important. And I think that by itself is what has been missing from American politics since the 60s and 70s.
Yes,
the early 70s. Yes.
It has. But all in all, I was pretty impressed with Tom Steyer,
yes.
With this debate. So I'm more or less happy about that, I guess. Just wasn't expecting it. I do want everyone to pay attention because I'll probably visit this again. But when he drops out, I want to see who he supports, because if he really is
so important. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just if he really cares about all these things that he's claiming to fight about, and especially climate change, if that's his main issue, who do you go with? You go with Bernie.
Right.
You go with Bernie, and then next you go with Tulsi, and then you go with Elizabeth Warren or Yang. Mm-hmm. Those are the 4 big ones who care about that topic.
Yeah, most. If he puts his weight behind Biden, then he was a bullshitter the entire time.
Yeah. Then he cares more about his wallet than he does about his issues.
Right.
But right now, I think he would back up Bernie. That's what his words are telling me right now. So I would just be curious to where
I think Klobuchar would too.
Bernie?
He's worked with Bernie. She's worked with him on so much, on medical, on on prescriptions, and there's at least 3 big things that she's worked with Bernie on.
But that's awesome. The way she strikes me right now, though, is she would definitely endorse him after he gets the nomination.
Only after.
Oh yeah.
Fair-weathered friends.
Yeah.
But she's also they're competing for the spot, so
They are.
It would be foolish of her, in her mind, and her campaign's mind, to come out that way right now.
Ooh, sorry. So yeah, that's my thoughts there. Last one, save the worst for last. I'm sorry, second or third worst for last. Mayor Pete.
Yeah.
Kind of did some crap.
Yeah.
I do need to commend him on. He did fight back a few times when people like invoked his name. He actually had a pretty decent argument with Elizabeth Warren. Mm-hmm. They went back and forth. He kind of showed his teeth a little bit, and that was fine. That's what you're supposed to do during a Democratic debate. Mm-hmm. And he showed he had a spine, and he actually had some decent ground to stand on, which he laid out there before he started biting. He's like, I'm the only one on the stage who's not a millionaire or billionaire. And he made a good point. But he also has more support than almost anyone from millionaires and billionaires.
Right. But 39 of them.
Yeah, and he was thrown under the barrel of wine for taking he had a talk or whatever, and a wine cave. Wine cave. That's the word I'm looking for.
I have no idea. I've never been invited to nor know of any wine caves.
Yeah, I'd love to go to a wine cave, though.
Sounds like where a billionaire Batman would go or something.
Was it $900 a bottle or something like that of wine? Yeah, so it was a pretty high dollar fundraiser, and it was a closed fundraiser when he had promised to his constituents.
He made that promise, but he also made the comment that about Bernie and Warren, about how they're Bernie's average number for donations is $18. That's the average. Yep. And so Buttigieg said, you can't change the world with pocket change about that. And I'm like, you condescending fucker. Are you serious? You could have the 40 billionaires that you have, but the other candidate taking your pocket change could have 300 million people giving $18. Who has more power? The one getting the $18. So don't come at me with that. That negates democracy. You're saying, he has showed his ass. There's been investigative journalism about him over the last 2 weeks. And these tapes from his South Bend, where he is the Mayor Pete, these tapes that are not being published for the public have the cops, the white cops, and the donors to Buttigieg's campaign not only are friends and in cahoots, they went into it, and it's on tape, recorded, saying that they were going to make sure with this funding and us talking to him that we get him to fire the first black sheriff. Or he is the top, whatever that guy is. And he did. He came in and got this funding, and these cops talked to him, and he hired South Bend's first black, whatever the top cop is. And it's just sickening. It's sickening. And so he doesn't want to talk about it. When asked about this stuff, he says no comment, or smiles and giggles, kind of like it's funny. It's not fucking funny. It's not funny. I don't find any part of that funny. That's corruption, and it's disgusting. And that just shows you that taking money from billionaires who want you to do stuff, you end up doing because they gave you a whole shit ton of money.
And you want reelected. Yeah. It's a pretty basic concept to understand. Yes. So to see how brazen it was during this.
If you want to know if you should elect,
unapologetic.
If you want to know if you should elect somebody who has been a leader somewhere, a mayor, a governor, go look in their district. Ask the people who he was a leader of, how they feel about him. And if there are a huge swath of them who are not just irate and upset and have tons of things to say about why his leadership is corrupt, but also have proof of people being fired and of these particular cops that are on these tapes are known for being very prejudiced. There's so much. It's not just one or the other. There's a lot going on. So how do you think he would be as president? Those same people who are convincing him to fire someone would be able to convince him of other things. Presidential's way bigger. You have way bigger donors. You're beholden to way bigger corporations. And if he'll, bend over so easily in a small town like South Bend, I don't see it happening any other way with him having more power.
Yeah, and he's just okay with that.
Yeah.
Is all that was. He said he's not gonna, not take anyone's support. Not going to not.
So, he avoided every question he got. I feel like every single question he went on about feel goods and flowery conversations.
Right. He was definitely ready to fight, but it was like, best way to say it. I'm sorry. He was definitely ready to fight for himself.
Yes.
And that's always what Mayor Pete does. He's always ready to fight for himself because he's in it for himself to make himself president. Because why does Mayor Pete run for president, Christy?
For himself.
For himself. You got it. We all got it. We all know. Okay. That said,
so he can go home and play Mr. President.
Yeah.
Who's your president?
Oh, that's a good giggle. All right, Christy. Are you ready to move on?
Yes.
Or should we add a little thing in here?
Yeah, add a little thingy. Put your little thingy in.
This is not about the actual Democratic debate. This is hopefully a quick discussion that we haven't got to talk about yet. Was Tulsi's vote on impeachment? Because you sent me a link for the Rational National.
Mm-hmm.
David Dole broke down Tulsi's vote. I didn't look at Jimmy Dore's yet, but I can only imagine that he supports it. I haven't looked at Kim Iverson's either, but I can never tell with her because sometimes she agrees, sometimes she does. But that's also why I love Kim Iverson so much. It's just like she usually does a deep dive, but I don't always do. I don't always agree with her. So I love that about Kim, but. Tulsi, she voted present on the impeachment vote, and I told you before I watched the video that I agree with her confusing stance on it, because that's also how I see it. I see the impeachment as, is it impeachment worthy? Well, on one hand, basically yes. I think it's impeachment worthy, but compared to everything else the last 6 presidents have done, arbitrary number, no. In comparison, no. Constitutionally, yes. So would I vote present? No. I would have voted yes. Do I think this is the horse we should have rode in on? Absolutely not. Right. This is why I agree with why she's so conflicted. But I
don't see it that way. I don't see her conflicted. I see her, this was the most self-serving move she could do for her political future. I think that it is about, she's very young, she's very ambitious, and she wants to be center ground so that she could say she was either way. She knows how these things work. In 5 years, they'll be like, but you voted this on this. And this way she could be like, but I feel like it was also, in her same statement of saying why she did it, she states all the reasons that he's a criminal. Like, oh my God, Tulsi, don't do that then.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm glad.
I feel like I'm just over. She says self-serving politicians, those words all the time. And I feel like that was the definition of, you know, for her political career. And we'll see in 20, 30 years when they are talking about this as, you know, in history, they'll be able to pull up the people who at least, whether they started it or didn't, they still had to vote. Who said, okay, this is the evidence. So yeah, on that I have to vote one way or the other, and she's the only one. So
she is the only one, and it does give her more coverage, just like David Joel said. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a very good point, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because you and I don't completely agree on this, and I think it's definitely something important to bring up, like let other people know. It's a difficult issue, but also like I do disagree with.
But is it difficult? Everyone knows he's not going to be removed. Right. So you just state how you feel about the. Okay, other presidents did a whole bunch of shit too. I agree with that. I agree. All of them have been war criminals. I hate that. However, none of them are in that White House right now. So we can only deal with what we have right now. And she wasn't in the position she's in right now when, you know, Bush or Bush Sr. or Clinton, she just wasn't there. She can only go by right now. Her power is right now. And I feel like it was a nice little she put herself into a safety zone. So if it later looks like everyone should have, she can say, I agree. Remember my statement? I also said, I think he was a criminal on all these things. However, blah, blah, blah. And if it's the other way, it was the worst thing to do, she can go, that's why I didn't do it.
Yeah. And you're right. You're absolutely right on it. And
she covered all her bases with this one.
Huh?
She covered all her bases with this one.
Yeah.
It was smart. Don't get me wrong. It was
smart. Yeah. She is smart. She's very tactical. She really is. And for a lot of reasons, I love her for that. But for some, I think it's like for people who are really in it and like more educated on the topics, it looks shitty. But for dumber people, it's just like she can use that, right, to her advantage. But for people like us, it puts her more in the crossfire, I think. So I feel like she showed that, and I don't know if it was just like I'm skeptical about it. Is really what it is.
Well, she's running for president, and
she is running for president, and she's not running for re-election.
Right.
So David Joel could be correct in saying maybe she's looking for something else. But also, maybe she's not. Maybe she's really trying to ride this thing to the end or get Secretary of State. But I feel like
I think she would
on one hand, this could help her. On the other hand, it could keep her in the crossfire longer. And I'm just, for me, this is more of a wait and see thing. It's not clear, cut, and dry yet. For me, and probably because like I put a lot of stock in her in the beginning, but again, that's another reason why I wanted to bring it up. It's because I watched a video and then I had to disagree with myself.
Yeah,
I had to
it happens often these days.
Yeah, it does, and that's why I wanted to say something, because I gave you my take before I watched it for a reason, and then I'm just like, all right, I do agree with that, and I was wrong, at least to a point, but I still am holding on to some hope there. I'm still skeptical either way on it, but I want to let everyone know that, and also let you know that I did change my mind about a good portion of that standing. So that was that.
I did want to, before we move to the next topic, I wanted to state why I felt Bernie had won, and it has a lot to do with me being a dreamer.
Okay.
I dream of politics being the way he was last night. this is what it is. This is how I feel about it. Next topic. Do you want to discuss it? Let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Next topic. Lighthearted. We're humans. We need humor. Sometimes things are funny. It's okay to laugh. He did all of these things, and none of it was him trying to sell something to me. So I just really like that. Like, I'm not butting in because I want to get this person. And he did get a couple people, but I don't feel like he was like, when's my time to get them? When it was just like, well, this topic, how about you have this many and you have that many? Because I know these things, because I pay attention. And he didn't dwell on it. When asked about it later, he's like, it's just political. You know, it's a debate. He doesn't use those things as, he's not thinking about the debate. I just don't feel like today all day he was like, oh, he's already trying to do other things. And I just love that.
Yeah. And those are good points. And because he had his hand up like the entire time of the debate, like I could hear his hand up the whole time because I was listening. But I knew it because this.
The millionaires and the billionaires.
I have something to say. I'm just waving at you, Joe. No, I'm kidding. I want to talk. Shut up. I'm not talking to you people. I'm talking to the people.
Yes, I bet he is.
Because that's what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's talking to the people the whole time. He's not just trying to debate. He's trying to cut through to people, and that speaks to you.
It does. It really does to me. Because of being so woefully fooled by Obama in 2008. I don't want any of that. I love that, but I want you to have actions that follow those words. And I watched debates from Obama in 2008. He came at Hillary from the left, hardcore. But once he became the candidate, he didn't talk about any of that stuff anymore. Because he needed to be more progressive than her, more progressive than whoever from the left. And then he came in and it was like, all right, Wall Street, line up. Who wants to be in my administration?
Yeah.
So I would rather you just not be, or make me think, wow, that was inspirational. I don't care. I want you to tell me how you feel about something. Tell me what you're proposing. Tell me your policy proposals. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about what you're going to do to enact them and how people can help. Like, those things matter more than